house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 22 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Dominic Capello. Dominic, thank you so much for the support. We really, really appreciate it and could not do this without you. So thank you again. I'm sure it's an interesting season for you having your favorite Nicole in and your not so favorite Nicole in. So I hope you're enjoying it. But anyway, if you guys want to be house guests today, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. $1 for a holla. All right, so when we left off yesterday, Enzo did not use the power of veto, which means that Keisha and Kevin remain up on the block, and Unicole is on a mission to find out where the votes are gonna land this week. She was like out of commission for a little bit because she is on slop this week, and it's really doing a number on the have-nots, but they're realizing, you know what, I'm gonna stay away from the slop a little bit. I'm gonna drink these protein shakes, and that's making my tummy feel a lot better. All right, so Unicole, she had a conversation with Kevin. I talked about this yesterday, but just a quick recap. She had a conversation with Ian. Oh my God, what am I, a house guest who doesn't know the people's names? So Ian told her that he feels like Kevin is the target this week, which we know he's not, but Ian is also a little bit out of the loop. And now hearing this information, Unicole is like, what is going on here? She thinks there's this huge conglomerate of people, like 13 people working together or something, which is actually not the case. Interestingly enough, I know a lot of times we'll see like a huge alliance form in the first week that doesn't even make it out of the first week, but this time we have like a million little to medium alliances that have a lot of overlap, but not like a huge conglomerate. So anyway, she thinks that Kaysar and Janelle are working with Tyler and Cody and friends. No, it's not what's happening. But it's kind of weird because why would Kaysar and Janelle have played in the Safety Suite competition if they're working with Cody? Unless she's thinking they came up with some sort of alliance after that. I guess it's possible. And in all honesty, like, Kaysar and Janelle do want to try and work with Tyler and Cody, which is just like, what? But I don't know if they actually want to work with them or they just want to make sure that they're cool with them for now. I don't know. So, yeah. Unicole is making the rounds. She's getting to the bottom of this. She's asking everyone about this week's vote and what they're thinking. So she talks to Kaysar, and he's like, yeah, I haven't been hearing anything from anyone, which is kind of true, because people are not really forthcoming with information when they're talking to Kaysar, unless it's like Janelle or Keisha, but Keisha doesn't really have anything to say. He says, I like Kevin and Keisha, but I'm going to vote with the house this week, which is what most people are saying right now. She talked to Day, and she told Davon about the conversation with Ian because these two are very close. And she was like, yeah, at the beginning of the conversation, Ian told me that, you know, judging from what other people have said to him, he thinks that Kevin is a target. And then when I asked him who he talked to, the story changed, and he said, I haven't really talked to anyone. I'm just going off of, you know, vibes and, like, how Keisha was cool after nominations and Kevin was kind of like freaking out. So this conversation was interrupted by Danny, but at this point Unicole knows that Day wants Kevin to stay because the three of them are super tight and they want to work together. All right, so then Unicole talked to Danny on the Sky Bridge, and Danny's like, you're going to keep Kevin, right? And Unicole's like, yeah, I think so. And Danny says, good, because I want to keep him too. So they agree. They feel like Kevin doesn't really have anyone right now. A wink, a wink. And Danny says it's kind of obvious because he chose Enzo to play in the Power Veto competition. Like, why would he choose Enzo? Clearly he doesn't have anybody else to choose. Or he was just trying to hide his true connections, right? So anyway, Danny says, I feel like you and Kevin are both really similar in that you both came into this game with a lot of baggage from your first seasons, and now you're trying to like find your place in the house and like have a better experience this time. And Unicole's just like, oh my God, I do not want a repeat of last season. Girl, nobody wants that. We cannot handle a repeat of last season. Not this year. Okay, so then Danny is like, I know you're on stop this week, and I know that's tough, but just try to, like, always be around people. Don't seclude yourself. I know it's tough, but even if you just want to, like, lay around, do it in a room where other people are. Okay. So then, I gotta say, Nicole really stepped it up over the last day and a half, talking to more people and kind of making up for when she was, like, dead in the have-not room. So then Nicole was asking, where do you think Keisha falls? Is she close with Memphis? And Danny says, yeah, I'm worried about that too. I mean, that's a potential duo. She lies and says that she hasn't really talked game with Memphis, and she says, I think he's, like, just the janitor here. Whoa! I guess Memphis does a lot of cleaning up. But she's like, how could you not pair up Keisha and Memphis when they were on the same season? They worked together. They were close after their season ended with Dan. So you would think they're working together, but it's funny because they're not. Keisha seems to want to work with Memphis, and Memphis is, like, all too ready to just, like, throw her in the trash. So Danny and Nicole both agree, like, they're both going for this HOH. I don't know that that's necessarily true for Danny because she's in a really good spot right now, and I don't see her wanting to, like, make waves or blow her cover with people at this point. So I don't know that Danny necessarily wants to win. I'm sure she wants the letter and the pictures and everything, but I think Nicole is honest in that she is going to go for this hard and she wants to win. But Danny's asking, do you know who you would nominate if you win? And Nicole says, oh, I'd have to talk to everyone one-on-one. It's a very diplomatic answer. Okay, so then Keisha and Memphis are chatting in the patio area, and Keisha is frustrated that people are not giving her straight-up answers about the vote. And we see this, like, every season, especially in the beginning, or at least in the more recent seasons. So Memphis is telling her, you should talk to Nicole F. And Keisha doesn't know which one that is at first. She's like, is that the red hair? And Memphis is like, no, the blonde one. Oh my God. So Keisha's like, I don't know if that's going to do anything because Nicole F is just going to do what everyone else does. She's going to go with the house. So Memphis is like, you know what? You should just tell people that you have the votes. You don't have to say any names. Oh my God, this is not a good strategy. Like, don't do that. So doesn't he think that's going to come back and bite her? So then Keisha is saying, I'm going to talk to Janelle because Janelle is planning on talking to Ian, Day, and Bailey on her behalf. She's going to see if she can get their votes. So she's planning on checking in with her. And then Keisha's just like, I feel like Kevin doesn't have anyone. So she's wondering, like, who would be voting for Kevin. Girl, you need to start putting in some work because you're not really doing anything right now. It's not looking good for Keisha. But Memphis says that he will let her know if he hears anything. Cool, thanks for nothing. Okay, so then Nicole and David chat in the bathroom area, and David's asking her, how am I doing so far? You know, this is the furthest he's ever made it into the season, you know? So Nicole says, you're doing good, but you should talk to Davon more because she told me that you are quiet. So he has been talking to Davon more, and I really enjoy their conversations. And David says, like, I know that you vouched for me in a day, and I really appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, so then David says, we need to be really careful because people are going to assume we're working together. We're on the same season. We're, like, friendly. So Nicole's like, yeah, I totally get it. Like, whenever we need to stay away, it's not because I'm not working with you. It's because we don't need people knowing that. So David says, yeah, me, you, Bailey, Day, we're all tight. And Nicole says, yeah, I like that. And I'll do you one better. Like, we should bring Kevin into that because that would be a nice 5. That would be a nice 5. So they agree. It's better for them if Kevin stays because Keisha is close to Memphis, and it would be nice if they could break up that duo, which isn't actually a duo. Okay, so then let's talk about Memphis. He is on a mission right now. A mission of mercy. No. He is trying to build up his, like, unusual suspects alliance that I was talking about yesterday. So if you want to hear, like, the full lowdown on that, definitely check out yesterday's spoiler if you haven't already. And check it out anyway, because we have a lot of fun, right? So he was telling Christmas about this alliance, and again, it's the same pitch that we've been hearing a bunch of times already, because Christmas is like one of the last people. Actually, she might be the last person that he's bringing into this. So he's like, I haven't talked to all these people yet, but he says, I want people that aren't attached to others yet, which is funny because he picked pretty much all people that already have other alliances. But he also said, I want people that can hold their own socially, and we don't have to, like, meet up as a group all the time, or, like, even ever. We can just kind of have, like, 2 people meet up, or, like, 3 people meet up, and we just have this, like, chain of communication. So he's like, okay, I was thinking me, you, Tyler, Cody, Danny, and then he says, I originally thought Bailey, but then, I noticed, like, she's really close to Day, so maybe Nicole F. instead. Probably shouldn't be including in your pitch that you were originally thinking Bailey and then you decided to add Nicole F, because she is going to freak if she finds out that she was an afterthought in this alliance. She's not going to like that. I mean, it would be different maybe if it was somebody else, but you're going to pull that shit with Nicole F? I don't think so. She's not going to like that. So, of course, Christmas is on board with this alliance, of course. It's already a bunch of people that she's planning on working with, right? So then they were talking about just, like, the different connections in the house and also the different people that are going to be in this group. And Memphis is definitely trying to distance himself from Keisha. We've seen it every time his relationship with her is brought up. He's like, I burned her so hard on our season. I got to watch my back with her, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So then, again, they were talking about the different people in this Unusual Suspects alliance, and Christmas says she's concerned that Danny's already in pretty deep with Janelle, and Memphis says, no, she's not. I already talked to her, and she's good, you know? She's down to clown. So, actually, no, because I think, is down to clown dirty? I don't even know. I thought it was just, like, to hang out or, like, to do something, but apparently it might be dirty, so I take that back. But anyway, if you know, leave it in the comments. So Memphis says, I think Janelle is trying to campaign for Keisha to stay. You really gonna sell her out like that? Damn. But he's like, I don't know Janelle that well, and even though he doesn't know her that well, he says that he thinks that she's a snake. Okay. So the snake, Janelle, made some tacos and some cake for everyone, except for the have-nots, of course, to celebrate Kaser's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday again to Kaser. I believe he's 40, so it's a big one. And also, yesterday was Janelle's son's birthday, so I'm sure, like, prepping for Kaser's celebration was kind of, like, nice for her, because she felt like maybe if she was at home, she'd be doing the same thing, so that's cool. All right. So then Kevin and Day were chatting on the hammock, and they're talking about the votes, of course. And now Kevin is saying, I think that Memphis is pushing Ian to keep Keisha this week. And that explains that conversation between you, Nicole, and Ian. No! No! Okay, so now Memphis is on his radar for sure. Everybody's just assuming that Memphis is campaigning for Keisha, but he's totally not. So then Day says, even if Memphis, Ian, Kaser, and Janelle vote for Keisha to stay, that's still only 4. You're still going to have the majority. You're fine. And honestly, like, she might not get any votes to stay, since so many people are like, I'm going to go with the house. Nobody wants to go against the grain or go against the majority, especially in this first vote. So, yeah, it could be a unanimous one. But Kevin is insisting these votes are going to be close. He really thinks it's going to be like a 7-6 situation. And he says, people are probably telling me and Keisha the same thing. I'm really struggling with these K names. But Day is trying to reassure Kevin, no, you've got the votes. They're locked in. Like, I'm going to go around also and make sure that you're good. So then Kevin says, He is coming for whoever was behind the motive of getting him out. Even if it's Janelle, his idol, he says, I'm coming for that hoe. Okay. And then he says, like, if it was Memphis, I'm coming for Memphis. So Memphis isn't a hoe. I'm all for, like, equal opportunity hoeing, right? But anyway, Memphis doesn't give a crap about Keisha. But imagine if, like, Kevin does stay and win HOH and he targets Memphis for trying to get him out when that's, like, not even the case. That'd be wild. But what about Cody? Are you going to nominate Cody? Because he's the one who decided to nominate you without, like, influence from other people. Yeah. So, anyway, Kevin just really wants to see the house split next week because then it'll be more of a black and white situation and he won't have to wonder, like, who's working with who. We'll see. I don't know. So then last night, Christmas had a big cry about missing her son. And luckily for her, there's like a lot of parents in the house this season. They can all relate. And a bunch of people were comforting her. Okay. So then also, there were lots of really boring, repetitive conversations last night. This is pretty much how most of them went down. The first person would ask, what are you thinking for the vote this week? The second person would say, I don't know. I like them both. Like, they're both super nice. And then they'll say, no one's saying anything. It's so weird. And then the first person will say, yeah, it's so weird that no one's talking any game. Like, what is going on here? Just play the game. Okay, so later, around 12:15 a.m. Oh, boy. Okay, so Christmas and Cody are just, like, hanging out in the backyard. I think they were, like, playing pool. No. Maybe Christmas was playing pool and Cody was just sitting on, like, the washing machine or something. And Nicole F. comes out into the backyard and just starts, like, complaining to Christmas and Cody. And she says, I was trying to sleep and they're having a freaking party in there. She's talking about the key bedroom. And she says there's, like, 5 or 6 people in there. It's Bailey, Janelle, Keisha, Kaser, and Nicole. And she's pissed that these people are, like, talking about Instagram ads and, like, there was one specifically, they were talking about, like, being sponsored by, like, a dildo company or something. Like, I don't even know, but it was hilarious hearing it come out of her mouth. But, also, Nicole is pissed that Janelle was asking her about Corey and, like, other people that she doesn't like. Ugh. And they're like, wow, that's so disrespectful when you're engaged to Victor and blah, blah, blah. So they're telling her, don't let Janelle get in your head. That's all she's trying to do right now. So then Nicole says, I want to punch myself in the face and cut my finger off with a butter knife. What? But she was also annoyed that Nicole kept talking about her podcast co-host, who she says, like, hates her. And this whole podcast thing is really, like, whoa. So, anyway, Nicole starts crying. And she says, I hate being tortured by people. What? She says she's tired. She just wants to go to bed. And she swears they're just staying up so that she can't get any sleep. Maybe they're just hanging out and you just so happen to sleep in that room. I don't know. But she's also pissed that Janelle hasn't been wearing her costume, like, all the time. She's, like, never wearing the hat. A lot of times she's not wearing, like, any of it, which is insane. But Nicole says... I'm sorry. Nicole says, I couldn't even not carry my sausage for 2 seconds. Remember, in season 16, she had to wear, like, the Germitard with, like, the little wiener on the fork. I'm not touching that quote. Like, somebody else can make those jokes. I'm not gonna do it. But she's like, I cry when I'm tired. Okay, so then Christmas goes inside. She's gonna check out the situation. And Nicole and Cody go chat on the hammock for a while. So, they feel pretty good about this alliance that Memphis has built up in the last day or two. And Cody lets her know, like, just so you know, Enzo gets kind of nervous when he sees you talking to Ian. You know, because they're supposed to be in that tight 4 of Nicole, Enzo, Cody, and Danny. And Nicole's like, wait, he's already getting nervous about this? Like, we just started. And she says it's not game with Ian. She says, I don't even know who Ian wants out this week. I don't even know anyone named Blurb. So, that's a Minions joke. I don't know if anyone would ever get that. But Cody says he would like Kevin to stay this week because they've already smoothed things over. He learned his name now. Well, wait, no, he didn't know David's name. But Kevin said that he wouldn't put Cody up if he wins HOH. So Cody's feeling pretty good about that. And Nicole's like, yeah, I feel like he wouldn't put me up either. But then Nicole says she would like to find out who Janelle wants out this week and then do the opposite. Because she says, I think they have a preference, but they're just not saying it. And that's going to be the side of the house that we're against. All right. So then Nicole asks, after saying all of that, and after having her crying fit about how Janelle is like doing all this stuff to mess with her, Nicole asks, who should I put up if I win HOH? And Cody says, Janelle, duh. And Nicole's like, what? I can't do that already. She says that's the worst thing that she could do. She's afraid that Janelle would come back in a twist if she's out that early. Honestly, I also think Nicole doesn't want to be the one to take out Janelle because she knows that Janelle is loved on the internet and like by the BB fandom. And if she's the one to take her out, Nicole already knows that she's like on the shit list for a lot of people watching. So for her to take out Janelle, like, oof, she's not looking to do that. Also, didn't Janelle say that Nicole, like, invited her to her wedding? That's going to be real awkward. I feel like by the end of this season, Janelle will not be invited to Nicole's wedding anymore. I do not see that invitation surviving this season. I just don't. I mean, you never know, but... So anyway, they also mentioned how they both know, it seems like it's common knowledge, that Bailey and Janelle set up a preseason alliance. Cut the feeds! What? Okay, I just wish, like, we could get a full list of, like, what alliances were set up before the season, just so we know. You know, there's some that we can already figure out. This is, like, too quickly for these people to come together and be so tight. Like, there has to be something else going on here. But I wish we just had a list so we don't have to, like, freaking figure it out like a bunch of jerks. But anyway, Nicole and Cody were chatting on the hammock for a while. Ian joined them for a while. Danny was there for a while. Eventually, everybody goes to bed. Cool. This morning, Cody and Danny were chatting in the HOH bathroom, and they're both feeling pretty comfortable right now about their situation and where they stand in the game. They have their 4. They have that new 6 with Memphis. Cody's got like a bunch of other shit going on that Danny is not a part of. But anyway, then they were talking about like where they stand with people and like who they trust. So Ian comes up. I mean his name, not like him to the room, just his name. And Danny says, I feel like Ian is playing a really good social game so far. He's so nice and I really like him. And then she says, I feel bad saying stuff because Ian's Ian, and I'm not discrediting anything that he is, but you know that he uses who he is to his advantage in this game. Really, Danny? You're really going to say that? And this is not the first time she said it. She also said it to Nicole F. the other day. Really? That's so messed up. But she says, every time you talk to him, you just want to give him a hug. So Cody's like, I don't think he uses it. I think it's just who he is. Thank you. But I also, before we get back into that, I want to mention something that I saw after I shot yesterday's spoiler. There was a COVID discussion, like, amongst a bunch of people in the kitchen, and Danny and Cody, like, kind of got into it about it. So, basically, Cody was all like, oh, I'm turning 30 for my next birthday. Like, should I go to Vegas? And everyone's like, do you want to die? Like, why would you go to Vegas right now with COVID happening? So he's like, what's the big deal? And he's trying to say, like, oh, what, you know, I'm just going to get the sniffles or whatever if I get COVID. And they're like, no, you need to stop. Like, you're spreading misinformation. That's not cool. And I agree, like, that's super messed up. And I hope that he wakes up and realizes how serious this is. Okay, anyway, back to this situation. Yeah. They think that, oh, sorry, they like, I can't read. They like that Nicole F is staying close to Ian. They feel really good about it because, if Ian wins HOH, they have her in with him. Maybe she can influence the nomination somewhat. Also, they don't want to be up on the block against anyone else in their 4. So say somebody like Janelle wants to put Nicole F up on the block, they're hoping that she would go up against Ian instead of one of them. I don't think so. I think I could see Nicole F going up against Cody because they're not doing a good job of hiding that they're together, right? Okay. Anyway, and they would just vote out Ian in that situation, by the way. Okay. So then Danny was saying that she's worried about Memphis blowing up their alliance because Memphis, the grumpy old curmudgeon, is starting to come out. Danny says people hate him. There was like this incident last night. I guess he was getting really pissed because the lights would not go off in the have not room, and he got like so freaking angry and like stormed out of the room and went to like yell at Big Brother in the diary room. Apparently he's got some anger issues and it's freaking people out, and Danny is afraid that people are going to want to get him out and he's going to like blow up their alliance. It's possible, right? I don't know. But anyway, also today, Nicole and Janelle had a long game chat on the Sky Bridge, and they were talking about the vote. And they were actually, like, talking more about it and not just saying, like, I don't know, nobody's saying anything. So you could definitely tell Janelle was trying to campaign for Keisha. She was like, I like to look at the nominees' previous seasons. So if you think about Keisha's strategy before, she worked with girls. She said she's going to go after guys. If you look at Kevin's game, he was a floater. He pulled a like Jackson-esque type move on his season and like made up this lie to get Jeff out. Good. But she said Kevin is also stronger in competitions than Keisha. So she's definitely like, we should keep Keisha. So then Nicole's asking, what's going on? Like, are you and Kaser close to Keisha and Memphis? And Janelle says, I mean, we're close enough. What does that mean? What does that mean? But you can tell Nicole is trying to figure out, like, are you guys a 4? Like, what's the deal? Is there an old school alliance? So Janelle says, Keisha would not go after you. She would target Cody and his friends. So then Nicole's like, wait, this doesn't make sense because I feel like Cody is really close with people that you're close to, like Memphis. And Janelle's like, no. But I don't think Janelle actually realizes that Cody and Memphis are super close. But Nicole's like, yeah, I see them hanging out like all the time. And yes, Nicole is correct. Like, we know that they're working together. So I'm wondering if this is going to be an eye-opener for Janelle and she's going to start looking at Memphis a little bit closer. I don't know. But anyway, Janelle says, no, I'm talking about like Cody, Tyler, David, Nicole F for sure. So then Janelle is really pushing that Kevin, again, is a floater and he's just going to go from group to group. And then she's also telling Nicole, you're good with me, you're good with Kaser, probably Keisha and Memphis, so, like, you could be in our crew. So after this conversation, Janelle was talking to Kaser, and she seems to think that she may have swayed Nicole to vote to keep Keisha, but no. Because then Nicole was talking to Cody about how she's definitely still leaning towards keeping Kevin. She said she was going back and forth, but I feel like she's been Kevin all along, right? So she said she's leaning towards keeping Kevin. Yeah, we've got 2 days left until the eviction. At this point, it looks like Kevin will be staying in a landslide, but you never know, it could happen. Anything could change. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to see happen. Honestly, like, I like both of them a lot, so I do feel a little bit bummed out that Keisha hasn't really been playing yet. I mean, I think she could do a lot more with the campaigning, a lot more than almost nothing. So that kind of makes me want Kevin to stay a little bit more. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. And until next time, much love.